start?
Yes, please start.
Right.
I'll just show the chapter name. Yeah.
The Yoga of the Intelligent Will. I have had to deviate in the last two essays and to drag the reader with me into the arid tracts of metaphysical dogma. However, curiously and with a very insufficient and superficial treatment, so that we might understand why the Gita follows the peculiar line of development it has taken, working out first a partial truth with only subdued hints of its deeper meaning, then returning upon its hints and bringing out their significance until it rises to its last great suggestion, its supreme mystery, which it does not work out at all but leaves to be lived out, as the later ages of Indian spirituality tried to live it out in great waves of love, of surrender, of ecstasy. Its eye is always on its synthesis, and all its strains are the gradual preparation of the mind for its high.
Yeah. Sarita, next one, would you like to read?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'll cover the two together. Yeah.
I have declared to you the poise of a self-liberating intelligence in Sankhya, says the divine teacher to Arjuna. I will now declare to you another poise in yoga. You are shrinking from the results of your work. You desire other results and turn from your right path in life because it does not lead you to them. But this idea of works and their result, desire of result as the motive, the work as a means for the satisfaction of desire, is the bondage of the ignorant, who know not what works are, nor their true source, nor their real operation, nor their high utility. My yoga will free you from all bondage of the soul to its works. Karma bandham prahasyasi. You are afraid of many things. Afraid of sin, afraid of suffering, afraid of hell and punishment, afraid of God, afraid of this world, afraid of the hereafter, afraid of yourself. What is it that you are not afraid of at this moment? You, the Aryan fighter, the world's chief hero. But this is the great fear which besieges humanity, its fear of sin and suffering now and hereafter, its fear in a world of whose nature it is ignorant, of a God whose true being also it has not seen, and whose cosmic purpose it does not understand. My yoga will deliver you from the great fear, and even a little of it will bring deliverance. When you have once set out on this path, you will find that no step is lost. Every least movement will be a gain. You will find there no obstacle that can balk you of your advance. A bold and absolute promise, and one to which the fearful and hesitating mind, beset and stumbling in all its paths, cannot easily lend an assured trust, nor is the large and full truth of its apparent, unless with these first words of the message of the Gita we read also the last. Abandon all laws of conduct and take refuge in me alone. I will deliver you from all sin and evil. Do not grieve.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarita.
Yeah, thanks.
So the yoga of the intelligent will. The word buddhi, the Sanskrit word buddhi, for that Sri Aurobindo, uses two English words, intelligence and will. So the buddhi is not just intelligence; it is at once intelligence and will. And in one, if you want to say, use intelligent will. So basically, he is referring here to the shloka 2.39. That is where, sequentially when we were doing, we had reached that. And then we were going towards the 2.52, 53. Before that, जो वो यामिमाम पुष्पिताम वाचम वाले श्लोक थे, where the Khandan of the Veda is done, etc. 42, 43, and then up till 53. But coming back, basically, that is what it refers to, 2.39. Buddhir Yoga. Buddhir Yoga. Buddhir Yoge Tvimam Shrunu. Till now, whatever you have heard, this is in the Buddhi Yoga. Now you hear the same from me in the this thing. Esha te bihita sankhya buddhir yoge tvam shruno buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Now listen to me in the same thing in yoga. Till now, what you have listened to me, you have listened in the Sankhya way, right? That was this thing. So the yoga of the intelligent will. This is kind of the broadly, if you want to divide the second chapter of the Gita into two parts, then this is how it is divided in the book, The Message of the Gita by Anilbaran Roy, right? So this is basically the beginning of the second part of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Yeah. So as I said, I have had to deviate in the last two essays and to drag the reader with me into the arid means dry, into the arid tracts of metaphysical dogma. Tracts means paths. However, cursorily and with a very insufficient and superficial treatment. See, because obviously Sankhya in itself is such a big philosophy, and to study it deeply and all that, you need much more time and much more. आप पूरा वो सांख्य दर्शन अगर पढ़ें, सांख्य कारिका, then it मतलब what we covered was just the very basics. ऊपर से हमने देखा था, ठीक है? Vedanta also, with all the Upanishads and Brahmavada and everything, and then the commentaries of the Acharyas, it's a very, very vast subject. Yeah, so that we might understand why the Gita follows the peculiar line of development it has taken. Working out first a partial truth with only subdued hints of its deeper meaning, then returning upon its hints and bringing out their significance until it rises to its last suggestion, its supreme mystery, which it does not work out at all, but leaves to be lived out as the later ages of Indian spirituality tried to live it out in great waves of love, of surrender, of ecstasy. Long sentence. I'll try to break it and extract what we can from this. Yeah. So the peculiar line of development the Gita has taken, as we know, the teaching sort of comes to its intellectual conclusion. जो एक idea नया देना है गीता को, that is in the 15th chapter, the Purushottama Yoga, and the Mahavakya of the Gita, which is what he's referring to here, is 18.66, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, right? So किस तरह से basically, like we read in the last chapter, it's quietly it replaces the word what was it, the Brahman, basically, with the Sankhya, the word Sankhya, the dominance of the word Brahman, it quietly replaces it in the first 6 chapters with the word Purusha, like that. But again, if you see it here, क्या बोल रहे हैं, working out first a partial truth with only subdued hints of its deeper meaning. So, like for example, the second chapter ends with Brahmi Sthiti, and the way it ends, you tend to feel that this is the highest, but that is not the highest. Clearly, in the last verse of the 14th chapter, he says, Brahmano hi pratisthaham. I am the foundation of the Brahman. So there is something higher even than the Brahmi Sthiti. The Brahmi Sthiti is simply the Akshara Purusha. There is the Purushottama, which is higher even than that. But it's a very, very important and partial milestone in the yoga of the Gita, like that. Working out first a partial truth with only subdued hints of its deeper meaning, then returning upon its hints and bringing out their significance until it rises to its last great suggestion. Already he is referring thereby its supreme mystery, which it does not work out at all. Yeah. Before going into this, just this basically. ये गीता में रहता है काफी टाइम तक. It does not even, for example, mention the supreme divine like that until the 8th chapter. That is where it comes first time when he says Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaridhyah. That is in verse number 9th of the 8th chapter. Uske pehle, there is not even a clear reference to the Supreme as such. Yukta Asita Matparaha. This comes in the second chapter, जो है in verse number 61. Yukta Asita Matparaha. That being united in yoga. Yukta Asita Matparaha. Matparaha means regarding me as the Supreme. So that's kind of hint starts being given of the supremacy of the divine and of the Purushottama, etc. from the second chapter itself, but those are only hints. तो जैसे वो यहाँ पे कह रहे हैं कि वर्किंग आउट फर्स्ट अ पार्शियल ट्रूथ विद ओनली सबड्यूड हिंट्स ऑफ इट्स डीपर मीनिंग, कि वो ब्रह्मन का रियली डीपर मीनिंग क्या है. द डीपर ट्रूथ एंड द डीपर मीनिंग बिहाइंड द वर्ड ब्रह्म, बिहाइंड द आइडिया ऑफ ब्रह्मन इज द परम ब्रह्म, the Purushottama, from which of which even the Brahman, the static aspect of the divine, is only an aspect. ठीक है? Like that. Then returning upon its hints and bringing out their significance. Again, at the end of the 6th chapter, the last two verses of the 6th chapter, when he says, Tasmat yogi bhavarjuna, and then yoginam api sarvesham madgatenam taratmana, shraddhavan bhajate yomam, same yukta tamo matah. He who with bhakti worships me, he is the best among all yogis, like that. So all these are just hints given in the first 6 chapters and all that. But the proper development is there in the 15th chapter, where the concept of Purushottama is given. And then the next thing, the main thing of the teacher, the main, the Mahavakya of the Gita, that way, which he's speaking of here, it's supreme mystery. Abhi bahut important hai, which it does not work out at all. It does not work out at all. Usko explain nahi karti. It is 18.66 in which the Sarvadharman Parityajya that comes, right? But in the next 12 verses, there is no explanation of it. The same thing Sri Aurobindo says in the essay in this book when he speaks about it. It's just like an echo. It's the goonj. उन दोनों श्लोकों की जो गूंज है 65 and 66. It's just left to resonate within your consciousness. They are not explained. वो उसका मतलब पीक है गीता का. It does not explain it. Sri Aurobindo's yoga, it kind of starts from there. If you read the book The Mother, what does he speak of in the second chapter? Aspiration, rejection, surrender. And even from the first chapter, without the surrender to the Divine Mother, the integral yoga is not possible. The transformation of the nature is simply impossible, like that. Right? So that is the supreme mystery of total surrender to the divine. I'll just say the shloka. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchah. The mystery is basically the total abandonment of yourself and everything, and the total surrender of yourself into the hands of the supreme divine, right? Which it does not work out at all, but leaves to be lived out. Leaves to be lived out. It has to be lived.
Anmol bhai, what number is this shlok that you just
18.66.
Acha, this what you said right now was 66.
Yes. उसके पहले वाला जो है, that is also included as part of the महावाक्य, मन मना भव मद भक्तो etc. But अगर एक वर्ष अगर बोलते हैं तो it is that in which he speaks of the total surrender. Total surrender. सर्व धर्मान परित्यज्य मामेकम शरणम व्रज. Abandoning all works, take refuge in, abandoning all dharmas, take refuge in me alone. I will deliver you from all sin. Do not grieve. That one. I'm just showing it here. खुल जाता है तो fast. Yeah, this one. Abandoning all dharmas and take refuge in me alone. I will deliver thee from all sin and evil. Do not grieve. This is a great assurance also. कि do not grieve. I will deliver you from all sin. आगे वो बोलने वाले ना, what are you not afraid of? It's a very, very powerful passage. Very powerful passage. Yeah, but leaves to be lived out. One has to live out that surrender in life. That is, in the true sense, that is what makes life interesting. वो जो जिसको श्री अरविंदो कहते हैं सावित्री के फर्स्ट पेज पे, the adventure of consciousness. That adventure of consciousness truly मतलब उसका वो जो क्या बोलते हैं, you start feeling the rasa of it, the joy of it, when when you surrender yourself to the divine. Otherwise, that adventure can also be felt to be a misadventure. But when in that adventure of consciousness, in the adventure of the soul in this material world, when that sense of surrender to the supreme divine is there, when you have this faith and trust that he is carrying you, then you enjoy it. And then, you sort of are living in that sort of communion with the divine, and constantly you are, kind of in conversation or feeling some contact. And that is what basically gives joy to existence. Savitri may again, that canto, The Pursuit of the Unknowable, book 3, canto 1, last page, first page, last two lines. Its presence, its absence made the greatest actions dull. Its presence made the smallest seem divine. If that divine presence is not felt by the power of surrender, its absence made the greatest actions dull. You can be the president of America, you can be fighting a war as a journal or whatever in the field, but its absence made the greatest actions dull. कितना भी आप बड़ा काम कर लो, if you do not feel the divine presence, which can be felt only by that genuine surrender and bhakti, ठीक है, its absence made the greatest actions dull, its presence made the smallest seem divine. अगर उसकी presence feel होना शुरू हो जाए तो कुछ भी छोटा नहीं लगता, even the smallest actions start appearing divine. Then you do not give importance, कि ये कितना बड़ा काम है, कितना छोटा काम है. Very, very important. Absolutely, मतलब the categorical or concrete तरीके से, why it is necessary to feel the presence of the divine. This I am saying more in an intellectual way. It's more to be understood by the heart, right? So that is that sort of the supreme mystery is basically the total surrender. हमने शुरू में देखा था कि why was Arjuna chosen among all these people? We had read, I had shared that passage. Bhishma had these qualities, Vidura had this quality, Dhritarashtra had this quality, Yudhishthira had this quality. But why was Arjuna chosen for the Gita? Because he had that perfect surrender to Krishna. Perfect surrender, right? So yeah, need not elaborate on this more. Has to be lived out, leaves to be lived out, as the later ages of Indian spirituality tried to live it out in great waves of love, of surrender, of ecstasy. Basically, tried to live out what? This bhakti, this total and absolute adoration, love, devotion towards the Purushottama. It can have different forms. It can be there in Shaivism, it can be there in the Ganapatya religion, it can be there in the Shakta, though this is a Vaishnava text that way, Vaishnava Vedantic text that way, but the form need not matter so much. But the idea is there that this surrender to a supreme entity, this total bhakti, total love, adoration, surrender to one supreme entity, like that. Okay? Yeah, lives out in great waves of love, of surrender, of ecstasy. Yeah, is referring to the bhakti movement here, beginning from around the 8th century in South India, progressing towards North and all that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sort of a culmination of that. Its eye is always on its synthesis, and all its strains are the Gita ki baat kar rahe hain. Its eye is always on its synthesis, the synthesis of Sankhya, Yoga, Vedanta, the Sankhya of Jnana, Karma, Bhakti, everything basically, perfect synthesis. And all its strains, जो भी उसके अलग अलग notes हैं, strains हैं, are the gradual preparation of the mind for its high closing note. ये वो musical language वो use कर रहे हैं, like that. Okay. Anything anybody has to ask in this so far? Otherwise, I move to the next paragraph. Basically, the Gita's idea is to synthesize, और वो उसका तरीका है. आगे जाके एक वर्ड आएगा वाइंडिंग मोशन. इट गोज ऑन लाइक दैट कि वो एक आइडिया इंट्रोड्यूस करेगी, उसका हिंट देगी, देन इट विल कम बैक टू समथिंग इलैबोरेटेड, देन इट विल अगेन मूव फॉरवर्ड. सो इट इज लाइक दैट. The word he uses for that is winding, like that. That is the way in which the Gita is written, and that is what makes it difficult also sometimes for people to understand it. कि ये exactly बोल क्या रहे हैं, ये इतना आगे पीछे क्यों हो रहा है, या ऐसे कैसे चल रहा है. It's not easy to follow the thought. You need to read, a great basically commentator like Sri Aurobindo in order to understand the Gita clearly. There are so many commentaries, and I mean, some of them they just give importance to one particular aspect, and thereby basically जो गीता का इंटेग्रलिटी है वो मिस हो जाता है. Some aspect is covered, no doubt, but some aspects are missed also. Okay.
Anmol,
Yeah.
when Krishna is saying that aham bijam sarva bhutanam, I am the bij of everything, and when he is saying that Sutra, Manigana, and all that. So isn't he already saying that he is the supreme?
He started hinting about it. He started hinting about it. You're right. मुझे भी वो याद आ रहे थे as I was talking about it. 8.9 के पहले वो है रसो हम अपसु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशि, वो हो जाता है शुरू, no doubt. That sort of starts coming.
शुरू हो जाता है.
हाँ,
And
correct.
he's
But
giving all these.
करेक्ट. बट जो पहली बार जो टर्म यूज होता है ना सरिता, कविम, आप याद करें ईशोपनिषद का वर्स नंबर 8, कवि मनीषी परिभूहु, ठीक है. तो जो कवि वर्ड है ना सियर के लिए या स्पिरिट के लिए, स्पिरिट इज ऑल्सो व्हाट इज कॉल्ड सियर एंड कवि, वो जो वर्ड है वो पहली बार प्रॉपर्ली 8.9. यू आर राइट, यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट. द हिंट मतलब उसका मोर देन हिंट एक्चुअली, ही स्टार्ट सेइंग quite obviously that I am correct. What you are referring to, that passage begins from basically 7.7. मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतम सूत्रे मणिगणा एव, ये सब कुछ मुझ में पिरोया हुआ है, रसोहम अपसु कौन्तेय, वो सारा का सारा है. यू आर राइट. बट मैं वो एक वर्ड की बात कर रहा था कि कविम पुराणम अनुशासितारम अणोरणीयाम समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारम अचिन्त्य रूपम आदित्य वर्णम तमसः परस्तात्. This is 8.9.
Okay.
So this is the first time जब वो एक परमम पुरुषम दिव्यम, ये परमम पुरुषम जो वर्ड है उसके जस्ट पहले वाले वर्स में 8.8 में, ये इसके पहले नहीं है. That kind of clear terminology starts being used from that point on. That is what I meant. But thank you very much for pointing this out. मेरे को तब भी वो लग रहा था when I was mentioning it. That is there. He starts speaking about it. But वो hint है, पता है properly. फिर again वो कहाँ शुरू होगा? 10th chapter में, when he will start telling that all this is his greatness. ठीक है. Then एकदम उसका जो explosion होगा, that will be in the 11th chapter. ठीक है. But again जो उसका concept wise जो proper intellectual formation होगा कि the static, the mutable and the immutable are my aspects, वो properly होगा 15th में. Again जो उसका final and ultimate teaching है वो आएगा 18.66 में. So that is how the Gita basically proceeds. Correct? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. Next para. I have declared to you the poise of a self-liberating intelligence in Sankhya. In Sankhya. Yeah. Esha te bhita Sankhya. I'll just show this verse on screen. Ye wala hai. That is what is referred to here. 2.39. Esha te abhita Sankhya. Buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu. Such is the intelligence, buddhi, declared to thee in the Sankhya. Hear now this in the yoga. Ye wala verse. ठीक है? So, yeah. I have declared to you the poise of a self-liberating intelligence in Sankhya. What is that intelligence? That intelligence which basically understands that the self is imperishable. 2.11 से लेकर के 2.30. Those 20 verses wherein he speaks of the imperishable nature of the self. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara, वो सारे कि how it takes on one body after another, vasansi जीर्णानि वगैरह वो सारे, नैनम छिंदंति शस्त्राणि नैनम दहति, all those verses, right? पहला वाला जो है, all these kings that are there in front of you, there was never a time when they were not there or I was not there, and there will never be. Basically the immortality of the self. That is the self-liberating intelligence, Sankhya wala. Says the divine teacher to Arjuna, I will now declare to you another poise in yoga. And by yoga is meant here karma yoga. Okay. It has to be in this part of the Gita's text. Basically, yoga means karma yoga. Later on, the word yoga is expanded. The meaning of the word yoga is expanded. वो जब आएगा तब हम उसको deal करेंगे. Here it means karma yoga. Again, वही जो 3.3 का श्लोक का जो ज्ञान योगेन सांख्यानाम,
Anmol bhai,
कर्म योगेन, just one second, कर्म योगेन योगिनाम. So it doesn't say karma yogena karma yoginam. It just says yoginam. So the dropping of the karma before the yoginam, usse implied hai कि by yoginam it is meant the karma yogis. Yes, Yogeshi. This was in 3.3.
Anmol bhai, you talked about 211 to 230, which talks about the self and
the immortality of the self.
Right. And all of us, when we have children in the house who take birth, and if we examine and closely observe them over the first 2-3 years, we all see that the child is basically honest. He's connected with the universe. He thinks everything is oneness. All those beautiful qualities of the self, and that's the reason in any house when a child gets born, and you get to experience him, you get to experience the self. And yet,
Absolutely.
that aspect of the self, very quickly, even after experiencing it, why does it not register?
Why does it not register in who? In the adults?
In the adults, you're seeing these beautiful qualities which are elaborated from verse 211 to
That is
230.
that is because of the, I mean, effect of the Maya, the hiding power of the divine, that definition of the word Maya. Remember that shloka was there. Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratya. So it gets veiled. See, what happens is when you recognize such things in little children, as you are saying, so you get a glimpse of the divine, all those qualities and all. Okay? But in
Right.
order to make that glimpse sort of a permanent part of your consciousness, your day to day and constant working, you have to do some kind of yoga sadhana जिससे कि आप उस consciousness में stable हो जाएं. Otherwise what will happen is the physical, vital and mental, this is what the Maya is composed of. Maya in that sense, वो उसको ढक देगी उस consciousness को. So basically an effort has to be made. The one word answer to your question is Maya. It is the tendency to remain in a finite consciousness, or the divine, this thing, it just gets hidden all the time. So you have to make an effort. और ऐसा नहीं है, with a sustained effort you can feel a sort of constant communion, आपको फील होने लगेगा. Otherwise yoga and sadhana is impossible. जितने भी लोग साधना करते हैं, योग की अवस्था को प्राप्त करते हैं, they have to struggle, but after a certain amount, I mean they say tradition के 12 years minimum लगता है. 12 years की साधना ब्रह्मचर्य के साथ, it takes minimum 12 years for people to get stable in some kind of a yoga अवस्था. But once that is attained, वो छूटता नहीं है, it is there, it's there as a memory sort of. ठीक है, but that
Right,
effort is
right.
needed. That
Correct. So
satata yukta,
basically,
constant effort is
right,
needed. Some kind of, see, karma yoga. You're doing anything, you offer it to the divine. Some kind of bhakti yoga, whatever yoga you are doing. But वो बिना योगा के वो ढक जाता है. There is a constant tendency of nature or prakriti to hide the divine.
right, right.
और उसका
Perfect. Makes
रीजन
sense.
भी है, I'll tell you. उसका रीजन भी है. उसका जो ब्लेज है ना डिवाइन कॉन्शियसनेस, लाइक व्हाट हैपेंस टू अर्जुना, ही से ये दिवि सूर्य सहस्रस्य भवेद युगपद उत्थिताः, ये जो हजारों सूर्य एक साथ आकाश में प्रकट हो गए, इतना जो तेज है, मैं उसको संभाल नहीं पा रहा हूं. आई एम स्केयर्ड, राइट? सो इफ दैट ब्लेज ऑफ द डिवाइन इज कॉन्स्टेंटली देयर एंड योर कॉन्शियसनेस इज नॉट रेडी, आप जल जाओगे. You will not be able to bear it. So a gradual preparation, see, understand it in this way. This is probably one of the best ways of understanding it. The divine is there as that divine fire within your heart. Okay, वो आपको अंदर से धीरे धीरे पका रहे हैं. He is cooking you, he is making you ready. And as that readiness increases gradually, you can perceive more and more of the divine constantly. But to try to, pull at it and to, see something or be stationed in something before you are ready, it may be premature and it might lead to a breakdown.
Right, right.
That is also
Beautiful.
huh?
Makes
Okay.
sense. Thanks.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Okay. You are shrinking from the results of your works. ये 2.39 जो लिखा है, this is a reference to the chapter title and the first sentence of this paragraph. You are shrinking from the results of your works. What will happen? All this bloodshed, ये मेरा पूरा वंश खत्म हो जाएगा and all this, right? All that he says in the first chapter, slightly in the beginning of the second chapter. है ना? You desire other results and turn from your right path in life because it does not lead you to them. But this idea of works and their result, desire of result as the motive, वही 2.47, ma karma phala hetur bhuhu. The hetu, the motive of the karma should not be the phala. The work as, sorry, but this idea of works and their result, desire of result, phala, as the motive, the work as a means for the satisfaction of desire. This desire is nothing but the rajoguna. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna samudbhavah. Third chapter mein when he asks the question, right? Is the bondage of the ignorant who know not. Oh, so powerful. So powerful. I'll read it slowly. This idea of works and their result, desire of result as the motive, the work as a means for the satisfaction of desire, all this is the bondage of the ignorant who know not what works are. What are works truly, essentially? They are the expression of the divine consciousness. That is what works truly are. Prakriti bolte hai na? Prakriti is the executive force of the divine. So pra literally meaning forward, kra meanings work, action, activity. That forward going activity which takes the evolution forward, the creation forward, literally like that, right? Who know not what works are, nor their true source, nor their real operation, nor their high utility. Ultimately, the true source of all works is the divine only. Ultimately. Nor their real operation. Who does those works really? It is the divine Shakti who does those works. Who does those works? It is the Shakti alone which can do anything. शक्ति ही कर सकती है. That मैंने पहले भी कई बार ये संस्कृत का रूट बताया था. शक. It alone has the power to do anything at all. Potency in its most original form. Shakti, right? Yeah. Nor their real operation, nor their high utility. Oof. Just these four phrases even here, na? Not what works are. Works वास्तव में हैं क्या? Nor their true source, nor their real operation, nor their high utility. The high utility of works is to realize the divine through that karma yoga. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim asthita janakadaya 3.20. It is by karma alone. Again, 18th का मैंने कई बार कोट किया था, verse number I think 45 or 46, कि when you do your works as a puja to the divine, as a tam abhyarchya, yatah pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarchya 18.46. When by your actions swakarmana tam abhyarchya, when you worship that, कौन, हु इज दैट जो पिछले फर्स्ट पार्ट में डिस्क्राइब्ड है, यतः प्रवृत्तिर भूतानाम, जिससे सब कुछ आया है, ये न सर्वम इदम ततम, ऑफ होम ऑल दिस इज द सेल्फ एक्सटेंशन, और बाय होम ऑल दिस इज सेल्फ एक्सटेंडेड, दैट डिवाइन बेसिकली. स्वकर्मणा, बाय योर एक्शंस, तम अभ्यर्च्य, व्हाट हैपेंस? सिद्धिम विन्दति मानवः, you attain perfection. Siddhi is the Sanskrit word for perfection. So the high utility of works is to make us have that siddhi, become perfect beings. That is why, the insistence of the Gita, and without works, one cannot have that perfection. It will be some kind of partial perfection. But if you run away from works, that total and integral perfection will never come. Never come. You will lose your grip on the material reality, and that total, the purpose basically by which the soul came here in the first place, that purpose will be defeated if works are neglected. Very, very simple. Okay. Yeah. Nor their high utility. 18.46. मैं बाद में सारे श्लोक डाल दूंगा as usual. My yoga, my goodness, just look at this, the assurance with which he's speaking here. My yoga will free you from all bondage of the soul to its works. Karma bandham prahasyasi. ये उसी में है 2.39 में. बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्म बंधम प्रहास्यसि. ये वाला.
Anmol bhai, the four questions that he's put up in this statement, where he says, what is he's giving you that this clarity is not there, and you quoted that, look, this is the clarity. So if you look at the self, that is that one Lord who is operating, who is the energy, who is got a purpose, if you link that aspect and review these four answers, what does it open us to? So he's indicating that in ignorance, thinking yourself of the mind-body complex, working towards it, that I am putting this action for a phal, and therefore working towards that ignorant aspect that you are a separate entity and the outcome is what you're focused on. That is the wrong approach. Exactly. And then he's telling you, but if you look at yourself as the instrument of the divine, and you look at these four, can you elaborate the clarity of each?
Basically, वही कि if you look at it in the perspective of that oneness, then what are works? The works are nothing but the self-expression of that oneness. ठीक है? of that unity, of that divine. Okay. Again, second part, nor their true source. Who is the true source of all action, all works that are happening in the nature? It is that oneness. It is that one divine. Okay. Who is their real operator? It is that one divine through his Shakti who is actually doing everything. आपका वो विजन खुलना चाहिए to be able to see that all that happens in the universe is ultimately the working of the divine only. ठीक है? And the final part, not their high utility. And when, with this consciousness, with this awareness, with this kind of worshipful attitude, when you do your works, then the high utility of works is realized and you attain that perfection, Siddhi. And what is that perfection? That Siddhi is the union of your and mine individual consciousness with that unity, with that divine consciousness. That is what it basically simply means.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. My yoga, just feel the power in this and the assurance in this. ये गूंजना चाहिए हमारे अंदर. My yoga will free you from all bondage of the soul to its works. एकदम अभय आश्वासन. मेरा योग तुझे मुक्त कर देगा इससे. My yoga will free you from all bondage of the soul to its works. कर्म बंधम प्रहास्यसि. अब देखो, you are afraid of many things. ये हमारी बात हो रही है. It's not just Arjuna, it's us being talked about here, right? You are afraid of many things. Afraid of sin. ये नहीं किया तो पाप लगेगा, ये करेंगे तो पाप लगेगा. उदासीन रहेंगे तो पाप लग सकता है. We are constantly afraid of sin. Sometimes that thinking is there, right? Afraid of sin, afraid of suffering, afraid of hell and punishment, afraid of God. Afraid of God के context में there is an aphorism of Sri Aurobindo. The Jew invented the God-fearing man. India the God knower and God lover. हमेशा याद रखना चाहिए. जब भी ये word दिमाग में आए ना, God-fearing. Some people are very proud. Oh, I'm God-fearing. You're not supposed to be God-fearing. You're supposed to be God-loving and God-knowing. The Jew invented the God-fearing man. India the God knower and God lover. ये श्री अरविंदो का aphorism है. Remember it. Okay. Afraid of God, afraid of this world, afraid of the hereafter, afraid of yourself. What is it that you are not afraid of at this moment? You, the Aryan fighter, the world's chief hero. Hero is the English word for the Sanskrit word kshatriya. ठीक है? तो तू जो मतलब main kshatriya है among all those living at that time, what are you not afraid of? Afraid of sin, afraid of suffering, afraid of hell and punishment. All that he says in the first chapter, na? Afraid of God, afraid of this world, afraid of the hereafter, afraid of yourself. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ये. मदर सेड fear is the greatest impurity. Fear is the greatest impurity. हर तरह गीता भी 16th chapter में when it speaks of the divine qualities, the first word that it uses, abhayam. Abhayam sattva samshuddhi jnana yoga vyavasthiti. So for any yoga to be practiced, first of all, that basic fearlessness has to be there. Otherwise, yoga cannot be practiced. A yogi must be abhi. Vivekananda ka quotation hai. Sri Aurobindo quoted it many times. Okay. Yeah. So very slowly, very important this is. Where is it? What is it that you're not afraid of? But this is the great fear which besieges humanity. This fear of the unknown, uncertain future, क्या होने वाला है? All kinds of things. ठीक है? But this is the great fear which besieges humanity. It's fear of sin and suffering now and hereafter. It's fear in a world of whose true nature it is ignored. Why that fear is there? Because of ignorance. We are not aware of the true nature of the world. If you just go by physical science as it is taught, कुछ नहीं, बस वो बिग बैंग हुआ, सब घूम रहा है, और वो रेड वाइट क्या होता है, वो रेड जायंट स्टार, वाइट ड्वार्फ स्टार, पता ना, वही सब थ्योरीज उसमें चलती रहती हैं. एंड देयर इज नथिंग, कुछ नहीं, इट्स जस्ट ऑल मैकेनिकल, फिजिकल, मटेरियल, और कुछ है ही नहीं. दैट इज व्हाट दे टीच देयर, right? At least that is the dominant teaching. A world of whose true nature it is, whereas actually what is it? The world is the play of the divine. It is the Leela of Vasudeva, as Sri Aurobindo says in the Uttarpara speech. Involution or evolution की language में बोले, then the Leela is basically when the divine hides himself. Involution, then that hide and seek basically. And in the evolution process, it is the self-revelation of the divine to himself. That is how you correlate the words Leela with the word involution and evolution. It is a ananda. Anandatyeva khalvimani bhutani jayante anandena jatani jivanti anandam prayanti abhisambishamti iti. Taittiriya Upanishad कहता है. क्या मीनिंग है? Anandatyeva khalvimani bhutani jayante. It is from Ananda that all these beings have come into existence. Anandena jatani jivanti. Having come into birth, it is by Ananda that they are living. Anandam prayanti abhisambishamti iti. And it is into Ananda that they are finally going to enter. Total perspective change हो जाता है. From that brute mechanical जिसमें कुछ नहीं है, which is what physics teaches you, to a complete revelation of Ananda कि सब कुछ जो है केवल उस आनंद का खेल है और कुछ नहीं है. देव ये जो तीन मैं बता रहा हूं, these are to be worth memorized. These three from the Taittiriya Upanishad. Everything is nothing but the play of that Ananda. That Ananda is at the basis of everything. This is the greatness of Indian spirituality actually. This, you know, जो आनंद के बारे में बताती है. Right? So, yeah. It's fear in a world of whose true nature it is ignorant. That is the true nature of Satchidananda, self-existent conscious delight. Right? Of a God whose true being also it has not seen and whose cosmic purpose it does not understand. Yeah. My yoga will deliver you from the great fear. ये 2.40 है. Trayate mahato bhayat. This is the phrase. I'll show it here. एक बार just ये English पढ़ दूं, उसके बाद I'll read the Sanskrit. Trayate mahato bhayat. My yoga will deliver you from the great fear, and even a little of it will bring deliverance. I will read the shloka here. Yeah. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo न विद्यते उफ स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात. One of the most reassuring shlokas in this part of the Gita. न इह अभिक्रम नाशः अस्ति प्रत्यवायः न विद्यते स्वल्प. सुअल्प मतलब बहुत थोड़ा, अल्प मतलब थोड़ा, सुअल्प स्वल्प माने और भी थोड़ा. अस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात. On this path no effort is lost, no obstacle prevails. Especially in the path of the Gita, because the divine is there as the secret and gradually the, you know, क्या बोलते हैं, the evident supporter and the one who is carrying you in the yoga. But slowly, on this path, no effort is lost, no obstacle prevails. Even a little of this dharma delivers from the great fear. That is why practice yoga. Kitna assurance. On this path, no effort is lost. Na iha. Iha means here, this path. Abhikrama nashaha asti. Uska nasha nahi hota. Abhikrama, effort ka. Nashaha asti. No obstacle prevails. Obstacle के लिए the word is प्रत्यवायो. प्रति मतलब होता है उल्टा, रिफ्लेक्शन. तो बोलते हैं ना प्रतिकार करना, किसी को अपोज करना. तो प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते. No obstacle prevails. Because as Sri Aurobindo says एक और जगह aphorism में, your lover is waiting for you at the end of your journey. और वो खुद that supreme magnet is pulling you and he's supporting you and he's carrying you. Especially मतलब, you know, जिस तरह से Sri Aurobindo teaches in the integral yoga, the surrender to the mother, you know, perfect trust in the divine, जिसको वो sunlit path बोलते हैं, you feel you are carried by the divine. So if the divine is carrying you, then which obstacle can prevail? When the grace and protection of the divine mother is there with you, what is there that can touch you and whom need you fear? Like that. Faith, sincerity, and surrender. I'm quoting from the book The Mother, right? On this path, no effort is lost, no obstacle prevails. Yea, even a little of this dharma delivers from the great fear. Even a little of this dharma delivers from the great fear. इसको और एक्सप्लेन करेंगे, अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे. I'll just see what else is there in this paragraph. My yoga will deliver you from the great fear and even a little of it will bring deliverance. When you have once set out on this path, you will find that no step is lost. एक और quotation है, no effort towards progress ever goes in vain. Mother का या Sri Aurobindo का, I don't remember, but is there. No effort. It's basically restatement of this, what is said here in the Gita. No effort towards progress ever goes in vain. Whatever genuine effort you have made towards progressing towards the divine, it can never go in vain. In the 6th chapter, when he says, what will happen if I don't succeed in yoga? Mera kya hoga? What does he say? Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashwati samaha shuchinam shrimatam gehe yoga brashto abhijayate अथवा योगी नामेव कुले भवति धीमताम etc etc. You are born again in the house of pure and prosperous people or in the house of yogis itself etc. और फिर वो बाद में क्या बोलते हैं? अवश्य उसमें वर्ड आता है आगे जाकर के 6th चैप्टर में कि तुम्हारा बस नहीं चलेगा, फोर्सिबली यू विल बी पुल्ड बैक इनटू द पाथ ऑफ योगा. This is better understood when we think of the teaching of when you understand psychic being जो श्री अरबिंदो बोलते हैं. It is that psychic being which is मतलब getting nourished, it is increasing whenever we practice any kind of yoga, consciously or unconsciously. Life is an unconscious yoga basically. It is that psychic being which gets nourished और उसकी वृद्धि होती है. It increases, and it is that increase in the psychic personality, the psychic being, which is a net positive, and it carries us forward. और वो जितना उसकी maturity और growth आ गई है, to that extent basically the spiritual destiny of the soul starts becoming inevitable. वो तो वैसे भी inevitable है. अहम आदिश्च मध्यम च भूतानाम अंत एव च. I am the middle, the beginning, as well as the end of all things. But as it becomes more and more mature, that spiritual destiny starts becoming more and more evident. More and more आपके सामने वो प्रत्यक्ष होने लगती है. You start feeling the working of the divine consciousness and force more and more in your life. ये साइकिक बीइंग जो श्री अरविंद ने जो बताया ना, थ्रू दैट वो एकदम आपको पक्के से समझ में आ जाता है कि इट इज दैट साइकिक बीइंग विच कैरीज फॉरवर्ड द नेट प्रोग्रेस दैट वी हैव मेड इन कॉन्शियसनेस फ्रॉम लाइफ टू लाइफ. क्लियर? Yeah. So my yoga will deliver you from the great fear. When you have once set out on this path, you will find that no step is lost. Every least movement will be a gain. You will find there no obstacle that can balk you of your advance. Balk का मतलब होता है stop short, कि वो आपको बीच में रोक दे. ये दोबारा पढ़ूंगा. It's very powerful, very, very powerful. A bold and absolute promise, and one to which the fearful and hesitating mind, beset and stumbling in all its paths, cannot easily lend an assured trust. हाँ, बोल तो दिया, पता है कि लाइफ कितनी डिफिकल्ट होती है, तुम्हारे बोलने से क्या होता है. All that the mind says, murmurs basically. Nor is the large and full truth of its apparent, unless with these first words of the message of the Gita. Yeah, we read also the last. Abandon all laws of conduct and take refuge in me alone. I will deliver you from all sin and evil. Do not grieve. वो जब तक टोटल सरेंडर ग्रो नहीं होता तब तक ये विश्वास नहीं होता इस बात पे. बट या दैट अपार्ट दैट थिंग अ लिटिल लेटर. आई विल जस्ट रीड अगेन एंड देन पॉज अगर किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन डिस्कशन वगैरह. या फ्रॉम हियर बेसिकली कहाँ से पढ़ना चाहिए? ओके. माई योगा विल फ्री यू फ्रॉम ऑल बॉन्डेज ऑफ द सोल टू इट्स वर्क्स. कर्म बंधम प्रहास्यसि. You are afraid of many things, afraid of sin, afraid of suffering, afraid of hell and punishment, afraid of God, afraid of this world, afraid of the hereafter, afraid of yourself. What is it that you are not afraid of at this moment? You, the Aryan fighter, the world's chief hero. But this is the great fear which besieges humanity. It's fear of sin and suffering now and hereafter. It's fear in a world of whose true nature it is ignorant, of a world whose true being also it has not seen, of a God, and whose cosmic purpose it does not understand. My yoga will deliver you from the great fear, and even a little of it will bring deliverance. Yeah. When you have once set out on this path, you will find that no step is lost. Every least movement will be a gain. Every least movement will be a gain. So amazing. You will find there no obstacle that can balk you of your advance.
So Anmol bhai, this positive that he's saying that the least movement will also take you, it is basically towards the cosmic purpose. If you link it to the previous sentence, what it's saying is that when we take birth and we are conditioned by society to look at a success of being a good human being, following the right values, being successful, having a good life, all of that conditioning is towards the goal till you are exposed to the Gita which says that there is a cosmic purpose of you to
Exactly.
discover your
Exactly.
reality, that you and that oneness, you are his expression.
What is my
You are
role in this
him.
play? What is
And
my role
that
in
is
this
the
cosmic play?
correct. And therefore, these points that you're saying, that you will see that every step that you've taken in that direction, it is basically when you link it to identifying and becoming one with your cosmic purpose, that you will see that every step was a step in that direction and nothing was an obstacle. But from a dunyadari, you may go through a lot of pain, you may go through lots of ups and downs. So when you view it, that it was actually something which took me towards my cosmic purpose of identification with that oneness, that is where you will connect the dots. Correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And essentially, it is the divine who is the secret thing, the hidden thing inside the universe. It is he who is the supreme secret. वो जो बोलते हैं ना रहस्यम उत्तमम. It is the divine who is the uttamam rahasyam, and until your consciousness starts understanding that and starts getting in alignment with that, आप कुछ भी कर लो. सावित्री में बोलते हैं ना, our life is a paradox with God for key. आपको समझ में ही नहीं आएगा लाइफ में कुछ भी हो रहा है वो क्यों हो रहा है. But once that basically that alignment with the divine, with the supreme oneness आप बोल रहे हो, correct word, once that alignment starts getting more and more developed, things मतलब you will start understanding क्यों हो रहा है, कैसे हो रहा है, आगे क्या होगा. That omniscience which is that pragya prasrita purani, that wisdom which is governing the universe, running the universe, आपको वो समझ में आने लग जाएगा.
Correct.
You can become
This
masters of your destiny. And slowly, you can even influence. If you become a great yogi like Sri Aurobindo, you can even influence world affairs in the right direction. Like I said,
right.
he intervened in the world wars, and वो टर्की के डेवलपमेंट में, रशियन रेवोल्यूशन में, सारी चीजों में श्री अरविंदो की सीक्रेट योगिक पावर काम कर रही थी. All that.
Right. So the word cosmic purpose, which came in the last sentence, is actually a key. It indicates that every step that you're taking, you may feel that, oh, because your conditioning is such that you're looking at your effort towards a goal which you have set for yourself, and you're putting your effort and you're wanting that fruit.
Exactly.
That
But
I'm
what is
working
the
towards.
divine's
That
purpose
itself is
behind
a
this? भगवान इस
fundamental.
चीज के थ्रू क्या चाहते हैं? Correct.
करेक्ट. तो वही वो पहला
That is
ट्रैक
what
जो
we have to get
कंडीशन
at.
है वही गलत है. Your
Absolutely.
purpose and your cosmic purpose, you can only understand when you first come into the habit of putting your karma as a offering to the Lord. Only then you will be aligned towards your cosmic purpose, right?
Exactly. इसीलिए that shloka, yat karoshi, whatever you do, yad ashnasi, whatever you eat or whatever you enjoy, yat karoshi, yad ashnasi, yad juhoshi, whatever you sacrifice, ठीक है, dadasi yat, whatever you give, ठीक है, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, whatever tapasya you are doing. जो भी हम कर रहे हैं स्वाध्याय, this is basically part of the mental tapasya, मानसिक तपस्या, ठीक है. यत करोषि यदश्नासि यज्जुहोषि ददासि यत तपस्यसि कौन्तेय तत्कुरुष्व मदर्पणम. That you do as an offering to me, उसको मुझे अर्पित करो. This is that constant कर्म yoga.
Which shloka is this number?
This is 9th का 27th है. I'm just confirming. एक second. 9th का yeah, 9.27.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. But 857. Okay. और इसमें क्या है लास्ट? A bold and absolute promise, and one to which the fearful and hesitating mind, beset and stumbling in all its paths, cannot easily lend an assured trust. Understandable. Nor is the large and full truth of it apparent unless with these first words. These are the first words of the message of the Gita. What are the last? We read also the last. Abandon all laws, वगैरह वगैरह. Abandon all laws of conduct and take refuge in me alone. I will deliver you from all sin and evil. Do not grieve. तो यहाँ से वो assurance वगैरह basically देना शुरू करते हैं, and it culminates in that. That is what he's saying here. But yeah, what an incredible. नेहा भिक्रमनाशोस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्. On this path, no effort is lost, no obstacle prevails. I mean, one of the most important shlokas that we have read so far. On this path, no effort is lost, no obstacle prevails. Even a little of this dharma delivers from the great fear. basically the Adhyatma Dharma. Yeah, the pursuit of the divine, the trying to reach a yogic consciousness, trying to unite one's consciousness with the divine through any kind of yoga, karma yoga in this case, what we are talking here, all that. It's 8:58. I don't think I should read another para today. वो आज खत्म नहीं हो पाएगा. We started at around 8:04 we had started.
Anmol,
हाँ.
this chapter today has been a very, very important chapter, because I think this thing I can say maybe I am work in progress, because
Everybody's work in progress, Sarita.
because keep saying कि I surrender to you, I surrender to you, लेकिन जब कोई प्रॉब्लम आती है तो उस वक्त फिर वही टेंशन हो जाती है.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Anmol bhai, also this 1866, the
Hmm.
reason it ends by saying is that the Lord knows that the conditioning because of Maya is so strong on every human being who takes birth that till you are not fully anchored, where आप हर रास्ते को छोड़ के जो आपके एक्सपीरियंसेस आपने अपना दिमाग लगाया है, जो भी आप कोशिश करते हो कि यार ये हो जाए, ये मेरे बच्चे के लिए अच्छा है, ये मेरे पेरेंट्स के लिए अच्छा है, जो भी आप कोशिश कर रहे हैं, till you do not give 100% submission, saying, my Lord, I have put this action, but it is your will that will
Yeah.
prevail. Only when you, because otherwise the human tendency will never enable you to overcome your past tendencies of saying, yaar, ye maine itna kara hai, yaar, ye ho jaye. So the reason it's ending with that 1866 is he's giving you an answer that your cosmic purpose, you will never be able to come and clear and get that path, and take you to a closure till you do not take this step. I've given you the path, but till your surrender is not 100%. How many times, I think for all of us who are work in progress, if we introspect how much is our surrender and how often do we do 100% surrender to the Lord, वहीं से सारी चाबी का रास्ता
And
सब समझ आ जाएगा.
इसमें भी one has to understand, एक तो मतलब जैसे सावित्री में एक लाइन है, only for good the secret will can work. So to believe first of all that there is that secret will, despite appearances, despite the हम नहीं देख पा रहे हैं divine को, to have this faith that he is there and only for good the secret will or the divine will can work. ठीक है, एक तो ये. दूसरा surrender का, like he says in the mother, I think, कि the divine does not expect total surrender to begin with. ठीक है, there is a fundamental surrender that you begin with कि okay, I surrender myself to you. अर्जुना क्या करता है, when how does this chapter begin? When he surrenders, जब तक वो शिष्य के रूप में समर्पण नहीं करता है, the divine does not start teaching him. It's only when शिष्यस्तेहम शाधिमाम त्वाम प्रपन्नम, when he does the, but that surrender, it increases gradually. Shri Aurobindo ने एक जगह है, we are satisfied with a little surrender to begin with, but it should become complete. At once वो complete surrender होना possible नहीं है. गीता में भी वो 18.66 में लिखा है, उसके पहले जितना कुछ बोला है, अगर आपने उसको सिंसियरली प्रैक्टिस नहीं किया, आपको क्या लगता है वो टोटल सरेंडर ऐसे ही आ जाएगा? वो कहना बहुत आसान है. एंड मेनी टाइम्स वी कैन डिल्यूट अवर सेल्फ बाय, ओ मैंने तो टोटल सरेंडर कर दिया. दैट इज तामसिक सरेंडर. आप खुद कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, यू आर जस्ट ब्लेमिंग द डिवाइन एंड पुटिंग एवरीथिंग इनटू द मतलब भगवान के उसमें डाल दिया आपने उसको. ऐसा नहीं होता. तो दैट सरेंडर वो ग्रेजुअली बढ़ता है थ्रू लाइफ एक्सपीरियंसेस, थ्रू द प्रैक्टिस ऑफ द टीचिंग. इसीलिए वो महावाक्य है. और इसीलिए ना योगा इज अ वन हैज टू बी वेरी पेशेंट एंड परसिवियरिंग इन द योगा जर्नी. मैंने तो भगवान को टोटल सरेंडर कर दिया, एवरीथिंग शुड टर्न ओवरनाइट इनटू हंकी डोरी. ऐसा नहीं होता भैया. इट्स अ
But
प्रोसेस.
Anmol bhai, for a child who's 5 years old, when he gets
हाँ.
into a school, if this
Yeah.
kind of a awareness and education was given in the first 5 years,
Yes.
जो 5 साल का बच्चा 9-10 साल तक का भी आएगा, जब तक ये tendencies जो हमको इतना
It
disillusion
cannot be
करती हैं,
explained these things intellectually. The intellect is not ready at that age to be understand. But हाँ, उसको आप दूसरे तरीके से कराएं, जैसे गीता के कुछ श्लोक अगर आप याद करा दें, लेट्स से, ठीक है, जस्ट द पावर ऑफ दो श्लोकास, they will prepare the consciousness like that. Or you
Right,
surround himself, surround this thing in a spiritual atmosphere. What you are saying is correct. और पहले एक्चुअली गुरुकुल वुरुकुल में यही तो होता था. एट द एज ऑफ, पता नहीं वो क्या बोलते हैं उसको, जो उपनयन संस्कार होता है ब्राह्मण्स में, and then they give you the Gayatri mantra, they give you the Om and all that. So all that spiritual conditioning was done. And that is why is India still standing today, man? After all these attacks and all, कुछ नहीं उखाड़ पाए, कुछ नहीं उखाड़ पाए. It is because of the spiritual roots and foundations. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, my only point was the ego gets consolidated as we grow up, but for a
Yeah.
young child, when the
Yeah.
ego formation is still in its early days, this clarity and this purpose that, look, your goal is to realize that divinity, there is oneness in everything, those kind of values will enable a
Definitely.
child to
Definitely.
really realize this and
Definitely.
experience this much earlier than people like us.
Definitely. There's no doubt about this. Basically, the spiritual knowledge, ki what is the reality of life and the divine and all this adhyatma, etc. Jitna jaldi ho sake, the child should be introduced to these ideas. No doubt about that. The important question is how, or wo phir it depends on case to case and everything. But there is no doubt that the sooner the spiritual conditioning begins, you will find matlab, people who begin spirituality at a younger age, even 13, 14, they are so matlab wo itne tatastha hote hain, so stable. And the later you begin, theek hai. You know, it's better to begin at whatever age. Something is better than nothing. But if you begin at an earlier age, then you find another. I have seen people जो 13-14 ईयर्स की एज में मेडिटेट करना शुरू कर दिए, दे हैव अनदर अलग स्थिरता होती है, पता है. सो द सूनर यू बिगिन द बेटर इट इज. नो डाउट, नो डाउट. I can just give a suggestion up since you're mentioning it. So, you know, where I am staying, Pondicherry, Samadhi jo hai, children above the age of 3 years are allowed here. If you're having that faith and, you know, that kind of Vishwas in Shri Aurobindo, bring the child here. और यहाँ पे केवल लाने मात्र से उसके अंदर जो वो इम्प्रिंट जाएगा चेतना का. I'm not saying this to market Pondicherry or the ashram, not at all. I'm just giving a practical suggestion. The sooner you can expose the child to the spiritual presence and vibration of Shri Aurobindo and Mother, concretely, इतनी जगह centers हैं, Shri Aurobindo की physical presence है, the better it will be for the child. वो जो आध्यात्मिक शक्ति का इम्प्रिंट पड़ेगा ना उसके ऊपर. एंड व्हाई इवन चाइल्ड, इफ समबडी इन दिस ग्रुप हैज नॉट कम टू पौंडीचेरी, प्लीज कम and avail yourself of the spiritual power of the samadhi. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. So anybody else has anything to share? Otherwise, we close with silence for today. No? Okay, I'm stopping the recording.